Okay, people, I think we're live. So, as usual, please let me know if you have any kind of audio or video issues, and I'll do my best to correct them on the fly, which never works. So, but it's good to know about them as soon as possible. For those of you who may not know, my name is Nick, or even for those of you who do know and just need a reminder. My name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and this is our live Q&A. We do this every week, and we try to just go over things in both gaming and pop culture in general. You ask me questions, I give you answers to the best of my ability. Some questions I'm just not going to answer. Some answers I'm just not going to question, and hopefully you will not either. So we'll do our best to get through this together. If you can, please go ahead and tell all of your social medias and things that we're doing this to get as many people involved as possible, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 things and things and things. So let's go ahead and get right to it. It is a somewhat dreary looking day here in South Florida. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of sunlight coming through my window, but for Florida, it's kind of dreary, which I like. That means they're finally getting into the winter months, which even for us can mean some small amount of cooler weather, but it doesn't really amount to much. That's why most people want to come down here for the winter, because it's not overbearingly hot, but it's also not, you know, ice storm cold, which is what used to happen in my home state of Ohio. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I'm having a bit of a lazy day today. I was up late and I was struggling for sleep, so I ended up sleeping in and slept over and blah, 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 blah. All right, so here we go. Let me just make sure everything's okay. Yep, everything seems okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Hey, Nick, is there any game you made a preview for that you are really looking forward to? Well, that gets into like a weird gray area of should I be saying that about games I took a paid preview for? So I'll give you sort of a generic answer based off of, like, you know, really popular preview games that I did a preview for. I'm looking forward to trying the full version of Seventh Continent. Project Elite, that I've heard that has had a lot of problems, though, with the sculpts. What else? I mean, I'm sure there's some. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to point out too many. And I'm not endorsing those games by any means, and I'm not saying that based off of the preview, the time I had with the preview copy, that, you know, that's my endorsement. I'm just saying I'm looking forward to what the final product of those may be. Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? We'll see. Hey, Nick, have you watched any of the new Marvel Jessica Jones on Netflix? How do you think it compares to Daredevil? No, I guess it just dropped yesterday, right? I have to watch it. I want to dedicate some time to it, work on something while I'm doing it and just kind of sit there and watch it episode by episode. I've heard it's amazing. I really can't wait. I love the Daredevil. Daredevil was awesome, except for the last two episodes. Daredevil kind of fell apart at the end, but it was still good for the majority of it. So if it's even as good as that, I'd be very, very happy. Sorry, I'm stifling a sneeze. That always happens. That's like a Q&A tradition. Each time you mention not digging the Lord of the Rings living card game, I die a bit inside. Is there any way you could just change your opinion of it to conform to mine? It'd make me feel better if you liked the thing that I like. Okay. Done. Hi, Nick. Are you going to the Dice Tower Cruise next year? Probably not, as of now. You mentioned in your Runebound review that it was everything that the Witcher game should have been. I think I actually said that in my weekend review compilation. But could you expand a bit on your opinion of The Witcher? Well, yeah, and I kind of wish I had reviewed The Witcher at the time. I had played someone else's copy, and then I played the online version, which was the same. It's the same thing, just a different implementation. And I was like, well, I don't like this at all. Am I going to buy a copy of the game just to review it and trash it? And I decided against it. The thing was, I never played the Witcher games. I don't have a connection to it, which might have helped my appreciation of it, but I have heard that no, that wouldn't be the case. And I really don't think that would have saved the game. It's got the same premise as Runebound, right? So you're each like an adventurer going off on your own and trying to solve adventures and get resources and goods and points and things. Well, that's the thing. That's how it's different than Runebound. They tried to put Eurogame elements into The Witcher as far as like getting all these different resources and effectively trading them in for points. You're questing with them. And then you can go and the interaction in the game, and again, I use that with quotes, but I don't want to keep doing that because air quotes can get obnoxious after a while. The interaction in the game is to go and sometimes help the other players with their quests, whether they like it or not, by giving them resources and getting some points off of their quest. The thing is, it was just very dull. It was very samey, and there was a bunch of randomness to it with how the dice rolls in that game work. Like, you think Runebound is random? Nothing compared to The Witcher. On top of the fact that there were just some really nasty quests and, like, take that type event cards. Like, take that from the game. Like, you draw a card, you're totally screwed. You lose all of your resources of a type or whatever it might be. And I just thought the whole situation was aggravating. And Runebound does the same basic thematic premise of wandering around the countryside and doing adventures much, much better. That's how I felt about it. You know, it's funny. Ignacy Trzewiczek, I respect him a great deal. I think he's a great designer, but I think that game, and from what I've heard, Rattle Battle Grab the Loot, mean that he's kind of on a downswing in design. I'd be interested to see where that goes, but I still love him. I mean, Robinson Crusoe and Imperial Settlers are amazing games. And people speak very highly of Convoy. I think he did the 51st State, New Era, which are basically Imperial Settlers, but... excuse me, I wrote my nose grossly. Have you ever played the Fire Emblem or Persona video games? I think it would be cool to see either of these franchises made into a board game. Based on what I've seen of them, I agree very much. I don't know how you'd make Persona into a game other than just a campaign-style RPG type game. But I haven't played them, and it's very sad. I actually think I own 2 of the Persona games, but I got them at around the time I started transitioning into board games, so I never got a chance to play them. And I've heard Fire Emblem is very good, brutal, tactical, skirmish RPG, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, which means I'm very attracted to it. I just never got around to it. Will the Abyss expansion review come up this week or next week? If by this week you mean like today, no. But I'm going to say next week, yes. Might be closer to the end of the week, though, sadly. What is your game group going to play tonight? My game group might actually not be meeting tonight, and that's a very sad thing. I might be getting together with just 1 or 2 people. In which case, the Abyss expansion would be up for grabs. Do you guys want to see? I don't know. I don't typically like showing off the games anymore, but I'll show you. Okay. So, here is the Abyss expansion. Obviously, we'll be playing Abyss together with it. Not just the expansion. Which is a really, really cool box. My camera's not going to do it justice, but there's like a little dude floating in front of the Kraken, which is really cool. That's the name of the expansion, the Kraken expansion. I got this, the Epic PvP. This is like the special Kickstarter box, which you civilians aren't going to get. But it's very cool looking, and it's got a magnetic box latch, which I really like. And you keep drawers. I have them over there. I'm not going to grab them, but you put like the characters, the races in one bin and the classes in another bin, and they slide into the top and bottom with organizers. And then in the center, there's a smaller bin that has the rule book and tokens. I think it's great. I mean, the box design is great. I don't know if the game's any good yet. I got Seven Wonders Duel. I'm gonna have to try that. Always hard to get 2-player games to the table though, so we'll see. And then this one, which is what's it called? Awesome Kingdom Tower of Hate Skull, from Kevin Wilson, who I definitely have a love-hate relationship with Kevin Wilson lately. I feel like I'm picking on the guy at this point, but like the last 2 games of his I reviewed, which I think were Chew and The X-Files, were not good. There's another game of his I'm going to be reviewing in the next couple of days. Not good. Could have been good. Not good. I hope this one's good. But he has also had a hand in the development of other games, which I really enjoyed. Like, I think he was on the team for Descent, 2nd edition. I think he was on the team for the new edition of Netrunner, the new implementation of it. So, I hope so. I hope I like this game. That's all. I don't want to pick on designers. Sometimes it just happens that way. Okay, where were we? I think that answered... I don't even know what the freaking question was. Lyrics, I just kind of spun out your question into this whole thing. Sorry. What is your game group going to play? That was the question. What kind of music are you into? Top artists? Oh, I like a lot of different music. I'm very eclectic in my musical taste. I would say that the only music I don't like is country, unequivocally. And then, but even within other genres, I might only like a few things, like a little bit of rap. Like I used to like Eminem. I think I've kind of grown out of him, but I liked him at the time. I even saw him in concert once. I like Drake. I like Kendrick Lamar. But then for the rest of rap, I'm just kind of give or take. I like the rap music that most white people likes. Sadly, I've fallen into that stereotype. But I mean, classic bands, for me, classic bands that I like The Cure, I like Bad Religion, which could not be more different, for real. I like Everclear, I like Toad the Wet Sprocket, I like the Mountain Goats, I like newer bands that I like. I'm really into sort of synth pop, electronica, indie music, which is a weird bunch of word nonsense I just spit out. But what I mean by that is I really like the Naked and Famous. I like Churches, spelled with a V instead of a U, whatever. I'm starting to get into Grimes. She just released a new album. What else do I like that's like kind of recent? I'm getting into Death Cab for Cutie, which I know they've been around for a while, but I'm just now getting into them. So Arcade Fire is always good. Stuff like that. Rilo Kiley. I could go on and on and on. I really like music. Please elaborate on your stronghold. Okay, we're not going to address that. Let's see. Why do you think some companies are switching publishing rights? Queen's Necklace to Simon, Village to Stronghold, Coliseum to TMG. Thoughts? Yeah, here's a thought. I think that a lot of games don't sell very well for certain companies. Sometimes it's the game's fault. Like, I firmly believe Mission Red Planet was not a very good game. I think it was okay at best, but for certain reasons it's just been conflated, and so it was picked up again. But sometimes games just don't sell well, and they get forgotten, and people are like, designers are like, well, I still have this design, let me shop it around. Or publishers can pick up the rights cheaply and say, well, we'll put it out in a nicer edition, we'll advertise it more, promote it more, and see if it does well. And I think that's what's happening. I mean, it's much cheaper to put money into an existing design than to one that's brand new, right? And I think that's what's happening. And also trying to capitalize on a certain segment of the marketplace. Like, there is already a dedicated group of people that like Village. I don't think this version of Village is going to be any different, by the way. I think it's just being literally just printed and re-released by this company. But like Coliseum is going to be a little bit different. So I don't know. It's definitely a trend. I don't know if there's anything to worry about, though. It doesn't make the games any better or worse. Plaid Games said that the Crossroads mechanism from Dead of Winter wasn't a one-time occurrence. Have you heard what they will release next with the Crossroad mechanism? Well, actually, first off, Lyrics, I'm going to make you no moderator because I forgot. So please moderate if you're still around. And if you see people who being a dickhead in the comments, please eliminate them with extreme prejudice. Yes, but... Okay, about the Crossroads thing, yeah, I mean, they said it right at the beginning that it was going to be a series of games, to the point where if you pre-ordered Dead of Winter, you could vote for what the next Crossroads game was going to be, and sadly, Space won. Like, there were so many interesting ones. Feudal Japan was going to be a potential one. Summer Camp, which I took to mean like Slasher Summer Camp. Any of those would have been infinitely more interesting than another space game, but okay, fine, whatever. So that's going to be the next game, supposedly, with the Crossroads mechanism, and it'll probably show up a lot more. Have you been playing Fallout 4? What is your impression? No. I don't have a console that's powerful enough to run it. My computer might be able to run it, but I don't know. And I just don't have the time for it. But oh my god, it's killing me to see everyone playing it and enjoying it and all these funny things that people are putting up online. Like the Tower of Flesh, I think is what it's called. Is that what it is? That some dude created? It's not safe for work, but you should check it out. It's very funny. It's a YouTube video. I really want to play it, though. I put so many hours into Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I notice you are backing Draconis. What is the appeal of the game? Just another deck builder with good artwork. Seems to lack depth, in my humble opinion. Well, first thing you need to know about me, if you're going to lurk and stalk me on Kickstarter, is that which was my fault. I think I told everyone the name to search for. I will sometimes back a game just because I want to get an early bird and maybe the game will impress me later on in its run on Kickstarter. But Draconis looked interesting. I like deck builders. I like the artwork on the game. I did grab an early bird thing. Whether or not I end up fully backing it by the end, who knows? I drop a lot of my Kickstarter pledges, which probably makes me a bad person, I guess. But no, it doesn't. It just means that I'm a careful shopper, which is essentially what Kickstarter is right now. But yeah, it looked like an interesting deck building game. I will say one thing, since you mentioned this project. I read down like the frequently asked questions at the bottom of the Draconis project and some of the other comments that he's made. The guy is an arrogant SOB, that's for sure. Like, he talked a lot of smack about his game as like far superior than all these other deck building games. I'm like, oh, really? Interesting. This is your first Kickstarter project. Why don't you make sure this one goes okay before you start writing checks your butt can't cash? Remember that? Wow, that's an 80s throwback reference. When do you plan to review Epic PvP? Most backers received their copy by now. Well, yes, I have my copy. I just showed it off. I think your question predated that. I don't know. Soon, I hope. I have to play it enough times to feel like I got a good grasp on it. Are you going to watch Jessica Jones on Netflix? Yes, I will. And I'm not sure about the second half of your question. How the hell does GameSalute stay in business when their reputation is horrible? I have 2 Kickstarter projects that I still haven't received, going on a year over delivery date with zero communication from them. I have been criticized recently for talking out of school, according to certain people, about other people in the industry, companies, publishers, other media people. I don't typically care. I just kind of speak my mind, but I've tried to be at least a little more cautious about what I say. One thing I will never, ever shy away from saying is that GameSalute is a horrible, horrible company, because I know this from many other people who will not say it in public because they're scared to say so in public, have told me so. People who have been intimately involved with them in business relations. They are a terrible company, and the reason that they stay in business is because they talk a lot of small-time designers who have brand new games into working with them and making the games look very elaborate and beautiful with great artwork and things like that to sucker people into backing them on Kickstarter. They have a lot of shadow companies like the Ship Naked company that they use to sort of cloak their business dealings. You saw that whole snafu they did with Board Game Geek, which I don't think Board Game Geek really knew what they were getting into when they did that with the Board Game Geek card game. They tried to do it on the sly. Using Board Game Geek's account instead of their own account. They're just a very shady company. They're a terrible company. And I think that eventually there's the old saying, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I think that more and more people are onto them, more and more people know what they're about. And I think that ultimately that's going to be their undoing, is that they can't hide the garbage that they do enough. And for anyone who thinks that this is an exaggeration, I would encourage you to Google the phrase GameSalute, a cautionary tale, which will take you to a Board Game Geek list, which is very enlightening. Vault Wars or Warehouse 51? You should do a face-off if you have played these two. Well, actually, I saw Vault Wars on the shelf at Cool Stuff yesterday, and I had no interest. No, I'm sorry. Warehouse 51 I saw on the shelf at Cool Stuff yesterday, and I didn't have much of an interest in it, nor do I have an interest in Vault Wars, so, not really interested. PS4 or Xbox One? I don't have either of them. I would get a PS4 before I get an Xbox One. I don't have like a beef with Xbox, but I've always been a PlayStation guy first and an Xbox guy second. Are you sad that they have not released another Attack on Titan? Do you think they should do a sequel to Death Note? There's actually a prequel to Death Note in novel or book form. The novel is excellent. They will do Attack on Titan. Are you kidding me? Well, the manga is ongoing, I think, and they will do a sequel to the anime, a second season or a third season, or however you want to classify it, because it was so immensely popular. It's a cultural phenomenon, okay? There's no way they're not going to do it again. They're just, I don't know, taking their time. They probably want to get enough content in the manga to fill up the story for the anime. That happens sometimes. So I wouldn't worry about that. It's just going to take some time. Do you think they should do a sequel to Death Note? No. I think that was a self-contained story. I thought it was a very good story. I know some people were disappointed with the ending. I thought it was just fine, so I'm happy with it as it is. Not everything needs to run on forever, trust me. That's why I don't really stay in tune with comic books much anymore. With so many characters for Star Wars Imperial Assault in the pipeline, when will we see one for Jar Jar Binks? If they don't make a Jar Jar Binks character, they are screwing up. I'm dead serious about that. I'm totally dead serious about that. They need to make a Jar Jar Binks character that is like a parody. That's like something, it's like someone you have to rescue and they just get killed all the time. Or they need to make some jokey thing about it. And if they do, it will sell like hotcakes. Everyone who owns Imperial Assault will buy it if they have the chance to shoot Jar Jar. You know, so they are messing up if they don't do it. I'm telling you. Will Star Wars movie meet the hype? No, nothing ever meets that amount of hype. But people, I think that they're not going to screw it up. I think it's going to be a good movie. It may not be amazing, but nothing ever lives up to the hype like that, especially for this movie. How does it feel to be one of the few podcasters to be putting out live feeds with so many others at BGG-Con? Well, I don't know. I guess I should feel weird about it. Like, I'm one of the very few major reviewers and things to not be at BGG-Con. Who else is not there? Maybe the Secret Cabal guys? Or not, even then, I think one of them is. I don't know. I mean, like, I had a conversation with Dan, the Game Boy Geek, and he was like, are you going to BGG-Con? He's like, oh, come on, man, you got to go. And I want to go. I just don't, like, want to go. Like, if I really wanted to go, I could have gone, I'm sure. But there's a certain amount of effort I'm just not willing to put into some things. And I'm like, I know, but I would rather just stay home. I'm like, I want to go to Gen Con or Essen because I think those could be very good for the channel. But if it's just gaming, I mean, look, most people in board gaming media don't like me anyway, so, I mean, there's exceptions like Dan and the Flip the Table guys and that, but, who I would love to meet again. I met Dan at Dice Archon, it was great gaming with him, and I would love to have that opportunity again, but it's just a very big hassle for me financially and time-wise to travel to Dallas to do that, so, I know I should feel bad about it, but I don't feel terrible about it. I have kind of like not taken advantage of the fact that I am here with the capability of doing a ton of videos and, you know, catching up on everyone, but whatever. I've been putting in a lot of time in the channel lately, and I needed a break this week. I didn't have a break, by the way. I still worked very hard, but I just didn't do as many reviews as I wanted. Who is your favorite character in Yomi or in BattleCon? In Yomi, I like... Oh, I don't remember their names, but it's the ninja girl. With the pink and blue hair. Just great. In BattleCon, it's been a while. Again, I don't remember people's names. The red-haired girl from the BattleCon Devastation. Finally, with so many Star Wars games coming out in the next months and in the prior months, are we getting to the point where the interest in Star Wars games collapses because of so many games? You must not know Star Wars fans very well. No, I think that Fantasy Flight is doing a good job of putting out good Star Wars games. I'm not saying I've played every one of them, but they all at least have gotten good ratings and reviews, and people seem to have liked them. And I can personally attest to Star Wars Imperial Assault. I didn't like the LCG, but people seem to love it. If they're still supporting it, I don't even know that. But I think, I mean, look, Rebellion came out, and it's like it's still the bee's knees. Everyone wants to know about that game, and even I'm excited about it. You know, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, so I don't think you're anywhere close to the point of collapse yet, but we shall see. Do you plan on backing the new edition of Carnival Zombie on Kickstarter? I hear it will have miniatures, and they are changing the Lady Columbine name. Was that the case? I didn't even know. I have the old edition. I probably should review it before the Kickstarter starts, right? Capitalize on that. But I guess I probably would. I would hope they would send me a copy. Let's see. What is your opinion on Merc Miniatures? I never backed Myth, but I backed Recon. I'm a bit worried these guys put out games that are not fully baked. Well, that is my opinion of Merc's Miniatures, is that they put out Myth, and it was a miniatures project that had a tenuous game attached to it. And I thought it was a huge disappointment and couldn't wait to get rid of it, honestly, and move on to bigger and better campaign-style RPG games. And there are much better ones. I've heard that they've had tremendous shipping problems. When I was looking up information for the Banner Saga, which is their current project based on the video game, I looked at an update for one of their other... Actually, it was the sequel to Myth. It was the 2 Myth expansions they promoted, or they kickstarted, which made a ton of money. So apparently a lot of people still loved Myth. But I looked at that, and they had some tremendous shipping issues, and they've been having a lot of problems, and... yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that they're doing something right, because people are staying with them. They're making a ton of money. People still have faith in the company. I don't, but you know, I think that sometimes there are miniatures companies who realize, hey, miniatures tabletop wargaming just isn't quite working out the way it used to back in the 80s and 90s. I think we need to move on to board games, and maybe they're not quite ready for that yet. Are you going to watch The Last Hunger Games? You know, I never watched part 1 of this 2-part movie. But I liked the first two movies. I never read the books. I have no attachment to the series in that regard. But I thought that the first two movies were entertaining. I really did. Someone I watched them with who actually loved the books was disappointed in them, but I was coming to them fresh and I liked them. So I would like to watch both of these movies and see how it ends. What are your thoughts on Idris Elba as the new James Bond? P.S. Spectre was awful. Such a disappointment after Skyfall. Well, I never watched... I might have watched Casino Royale, but I didn't watch any of the last two Bond movies, which were, I think, Skyfall and Quantum of Solace. And then Spectre, this new one. I think that's a great idea, only because, here's the problem. I don't care about James Bond. Like, I am not a James Bond guy. I've found some of the movies entertaining. The end. I mean, I have no attachment to that franchise or character whatsoever. I think it's kind of a relic of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we might be better off just moving on from it if they are like committed to, we are just going to do James Bond until the end of time, until the sun fades out and the earth dies. Then yes, Idris Elba would be amazing because he's Idris Elba. Again, it has nothing to do with James Bond. It has to do with Idris Elba is an amazing actor and a joy to watch on screen. I would actually encourage you, as a matter of fact, to go online. You're online now. Google the AV Club and James Bond or 007, and at some point it's going to bring up, they did a list from their editors of other people they would like to see in the James Bond role. It's awesome, because there's some really interesting choices on that list, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see that, including like the woman who played Agent Carter, I forget her name, but whatever her name is, you can tell how much of a fan I am of her. She'd be great as like a female Bond. The guy who played Mads Mikkelsen, the guy who played Hannibal in the Hannibal TV series. I mean, I love that show, but he would make a great Bond, like a really sadistic Bond, assuming he acts like his Hannibal character. So, yeah, it's a great list to look at. But yeah, Idris Elba, I'm totally fine with it, but only because he's amazing and I don't care about James Bond. Seems like time travel is the new hotness. Back to the Future game, Time Stories, Loop Inc., Steam Time, Tragedy Looper. Do you agree? Well, it certainly seems to be popular, and we see these things happen where game ideas come in waves. Vikings is also very hot right now. Time Stories was amazing. Tragedy Looper was amazing. Loop Inc. I haven't played, but it's from Scott Alm, so it probably is not that good. It's probably completely mediocre. Steam Time and Back to the Future game, I have no idea. Back to the Future game is from IDW, so also I'm expecting mediocrity. But I hope I'm wrong, and it is a great theme. Still no Book of Madness. What the dealio? I don't have it. I mean, I'm not getting a review copy of it, apparently. And it hasn't come out of retail yet, so I don't know. When you see it hit retail, you can expect I'll have my review up within a couple of weeks. Thank you very much, Nathaniel, to you as well. And we're back to where we started. Sorry, guys. It always takes me a long time to get through questions. What non-party game do you think has the best humor, straight or satirical? Non-party game. That's a tough one. I don't know. Magical Athlete? It's my first thought because it's not really a party game. It takes a while to play and it's only up to like 5 players. Yeah. I'll say Magical Athlete. What would a war game need to have in order... have or do in order for you to enjoy playing it? A theme I'm really into. Like, I might play like Space Empires 4X because I think that's a pretty interesting theme to me. Galactic world building. But I'm not interested in like an old school war game. Sorry, Aaron Silverman. Yeah, it has to have better components. It has to have a better theme. It has to have a shorter gameplay time. And I think if you change it that drastically, it's not technically a war game anymore. So it might just be that war games are not for me. Am I having... okay, someone's having issues. Subjectively, it seems you aren't reviewing as many small card games as last year. Is this a strategic decision? Is that true? I don't know. It's not that I'm actively making that decision. It's just that I'm trying to do the newest and hottest games, and they seem to be bigger games. I certainly have a ton of small games I could be reviewing, but I just haven't gotten around to it. No. And I mean, I think overall I prefer larger games, and even if it's like a deck building game, which is like a bigger card game. Yeah, that's just my wheelhouse. I think you'll find with my top 100, which is going on now, by the way. I guess we should have mentioned that. You in my bottom half of my list, you're going to see a lot of these smaller games, like, and what I've already done. Like in my 81 to 90, there was, which is already up. There's no spoilers here. Was Parade, and you also saw Lost Legacy, things like that. But when you get up to my top like 20, you're going to see big games, and there's a reason for that. I prefer them. There's a few smaller games there, but not really. But it wasn't like a strategic thing. It was just like, hey, I want to review the hottest games, and they just don't happen to be small games for the most part. Nick, are you excited for the Kingdom Death expansions? If so, which ones are the most hypes to least? For me personally, oh man, I'm excited for all of them, really, because they all look really cool and sweet. I would say I want the Lantern expansion most, which is the Lantern Festival, which I think extends the campaign beyond 25 years. I'm excited for the Dragon King, even some of like the smaller expansions, like the Lion Knight and the Dung Beetle Knight, which if you're not into Kingdom Death makes no sense. It sounds really weird. But all these things add very interesting aspects to the game, new types of innovations. I just love the idea of them. Yeah, I'm excited about all of them. I'm trying to think if there's any like major one that I'm like really looking forward to besides that. What's it? I think it might be part of the Lantern expansion with like what's the dude? I can only picture the mini right now. I can't even think of the name. The big like grotesque looking thing that's got like a bunch of people trapped in its chest cavity. I don't know. That describes like 90% of Kingdom Death monsters, by the way. No, I'm excited for all of them. I really am. But I think the Lantern Festival is going to be the one that everyone's going to want the most. Look at me grossly wiping my nose. I'm sorry, guys. When I say guys, by the way, I mean guys collectively, women and men. Also, I recently started reviewing video games and board games at my leisure, no schedule or anything. What and how do you recommend getting subs and viewers? Money is an issue in terms of equipment. Well, I would say do your best with your equipment, but listen, I did my channel for a very long time, like over a year, with very substandard equipment, and I still don't have the best equipment, and I seem to be doing okay. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. As far as what to do to get viewers and subs, put yourself on social media as much as possible. Get word of mouth going, and just do whatever you can to be into what you do, be passionate about what you do. It's just gonna, it's a slow burn, I think. You need to like compound viewers to be like, okay, put out a very good product. Someone says, wow, this is really good. I'll share this. And then someone says, oh, other people come and say, oh, this is really good too. We're going to share it too. It's just this compounding thing that keeps going and going and going. And then the better products you put out, the more people view it. They view it longer. They thumb it. Whether it's up or down, they'll thumb it. And then that gets into YouTube's algorithm, and that means you start showing up in search results closer to the top and people's sidebars of feeds. It sounds lame, but you just have to put yourself out there as much as possible. There's not like a magic bullet that I know of personally, but be dedicated, keep your videos short and to the point, which is something I have not learned to do yet. And just keep at it and stay passionate about it. And I think that if you're just doing it for fun, you've got the right attitude. Do it for fun above all else. What is the heaviest game that you like? I like Patch History. That's a pretty heavy game. Kingdom Death Monster, all in all, is a pretty heavy game when you put, but it's not probably what you're thinking about. Shakespeare's, no. Is Shakespeare a heavy game? Shakespeare, I think, is an easy game to learn, but has a lot of complexity. No, not even that. Well, I guess not. I don't know. My first thought is Patch History. That's a pretty heavy game. I'll stick with that. Is it Thanksgiving in the States this weekend? And could you please explain to a European what Thanksgiving is all about? Thanksgiving is next week. It is Thursday, what is it this year? The 26th. It's Thursday the 26th is Thanksgiving Day, followed by Black Friday, which I'm sure everyone around the world knows all about. Thanksgiving, supposedly, is celebrating the day that pilgrims... It's celebrating pilgrims coming over to America and having a feast with Native Americans, and basically just giving thanks for what they have, and that they're in this new world and starting the American the American country and nation and civilized society is ideally what it's about. Of course, there's differing things about what actually happened that day, and history is not always quite what you learn when you're in grade school. But overall, I think this is one of the holidays that has come out the best when people put it under scrutiny. Columbus Day, not so much. But Thanksgiving is just a day for what it really means in present day for people is getting together with family. And I think it succeeds in that. I don't have any beef with Thanksgiving particularly. I don't celebrate it because I don't really have a family per se, and I just kind of spend the day by myself just doing nothing with my dogs, which is my family. So it doesn't really mean anything to me, but a lot of people use it as a time to cook, to get together. People get stressed out about it, certainly, but I think overall people just love being with their friends and family. And Quarantine goes ahead and talks about some of the other aspects of Thanksgiving. Nick, I'm begging you to throw us some links for those shirts. Well, okay, I'll say them again. I could put them in the comments after the video is done, I guess, but it's... Okay, all right, let me give you the links, and then I'll give you a word of caution. So it's Rips Apparel. I think it's just rips.com, but look up RIPT shirts, and you'll find it. T-Fury, TEEFURY.com. Shirtpunch.com. And then I think TeePublic is a good spot. T-Turtle, and woot.shirt.com or something like that are the places I most commonly get them. Definitely those first three I mentioned. Shirt Punch, Ripped, and T-Fury. What I will caution you on is, well, first off, this was actually a gift, but I think this one came from, like, a completely different retailer. I don't even remember the name of it. Someone gave it to me, though. I would caution you that shirts like Shirt Punch and Ripped and, Shirt Punch and Ripped almost exclusively have daily t-shirts that come and go, which means that you go there, they have the shirt for 24 hours, they'll give you a second chance at a higher cost for like the next, I don't know if it's a full day or maybe 12 hours for that shirt, but then it's gone. And it may come back, it may not. Sometimes those shirts bounce around between sites, but those shirts don't keep stock, or those sites don't keep stock. They only have what they have for that short amount of time, and then they're gone. T-Fury keeps shirts in stock. So if you don't have a chance to buy it, it will probably still be there. Sometimes they retire stock, though. So I'm just saying, like, sometimes you might see me with a shirt and be like, how did you get that? Where did you get that? It may be gone temporarily. So I don't want to get your hopes up. Do you think Spectre Ops will ever get an expansion? I really hope so. Did it sell well? I don't know. I don't have access to those numbers. Sometimes I don't want to know. But I think it sold well. It had a lot of buzz. Reviewers loved it. And I saw a lot of people playing that at Dice Tower Con. It's a game that gets a lot of love, and I don't think that Plaid Hat would just like leave it there like that. There's so much they could do with it. More hunters, more runners, more board layouts, and new map packs, powers and abilities and stuff. Yeah, I think they could put out at least one big box expansion to that game, and it would be amazing. They could put out a whole other standalone game and have you mix the characters between the two of them like they're doing with Dungeon Run, supposedly. I don't know what's going on with that project. But yeah, I hope that they do. I don't have any inside information, though. Don't you think games like Pandemic Legacy would have a negative impact on the environment by not making it replayable, more materials to be consumed, and more waste produced? You are assuming that people who buy it once would buy it again, like more and more. When I think that people will buy it, they may buy more than one copy, but I doubt it. I think most people are going to buy it once, they'll play through it, they'll enjoy their experience, and maybe hold on to it as a keepsake, and that's that. I don't think that it's going to make that much of a dent in it. I think because of its expense, it's probably putting less of a footprint on the environment than smaller games that are cheaper. Then probably not as good. Will you do a top 10 games for couples? I've recently made my list and wondered how we compare. Wow, that sounds wrong. I promise I am not hitting on you. Well, that's a shame, actually. But okay, that's fine. No, listen, I'm not going to do that. Because I'm not in a relationship. I haven't been in a long-term relationship for a while. I've dated here and there, but no one I've dated has been into board games. It's just not a list that I would feel comfortable doing. Well, okay, let me backtrack a second. I could do it from like a outsider looking in perspective. I think these games would be good for couples. I feel like I should have some experience in the matter as far as like playing games in a dedicated manner with a girlfriend. And I just don't have that experience because every girl I've dated hasn't been into it. So, do you ever find yourself not enjoying being in the moments of a game because you are too busy analyzing it? All the time. Yeah. That starts to go away. Like, if it's a good game and I'm getting ready to review and I'm into like my third play, then I'll be like, oh, okay. I can kind of phase that out. I've already made up my mind about it. No pressure. But still, I get what you're saying. And yeah, it is weird. I do often lament, like, how would I be looking at this game, in the past, before I had a channel. Hey Nick, have you been keeping up with the Dragon Ball Z movies? No, I know there's been 2 or 3 that came out. I haven't been keeping up with the new Dragon Ball Z series either. Maybe I'm just moved on from that. Greetings from Denmark. Do you watch the British comedy show IT Crowd? You should check out their spoof episode about board games. It's hilarious. I have not watched that show, but I have seen the spoof you're talking about. I posted clips about it. It's very, very funny. If no one knows what he's talking about, look it up. It's very, very funny. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Going home to the family, cooking a turkey? I'm doing nothing. I don't have family per se, at least any family that would want to see me. So I am just going to hang out, probably use the opportunity to film more videos. Like a top 10, one of the top 10 segments for my top 100 games, and clean, which is overdue. If you could get the answer to one question, what would that question be and why? Should I say something funny? No. I would say that is a little too personal. I'll leave that one hanging. If you could get the question to one answer, what would that answer be and why? The answer would be yes, and he also killed JFK. There's some German I don't understand, but thank you. Assuming you didn't insult me. It's lyrics, so I doubt she did. Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure that you're a guy or a girl. I'm sorry, lyrics. Now we're back to the start of the stream, and we're 44 minutes in. Hi Nick, love your channel. How's my favorite YouTube channel? Thank you very much. Have you had a chance to play Darkness Comes Rattling yet? I'm trying out my first play solo. Yes, I have. I'll be having a review of that put up tomorrow. I have a lot of thoughts about that game. A lot of thoughts. What do you think about replayability in Arcadia Quest? I think there's a lot of replayability in that game because you can do the campaign mode, but you can also just play the same thing over and over again and still have fun. That's one of the great things about that game. Like, it's almost like they didn't even need to put in a campaign mode, and they just did it. There's so much content in that game. There will be Seafall questions tonight. Oh, is that like a Reddit thing? I don't know. Thoughts on Arcadia Quest Inferno's new mechanics? I don't know all of them. I haven't been I backed it just to get an early bird, but I haven't been keeping up with it that much, the updates. But I'm very interested in the angel mechanism and how they can gain corruption, like if you don't save them. Like it either become allies or they come back and fight you later, which I think is very interesting. I also like the whole Frost Dragon expansion, which is super cool. All right. Now let's just jump down to the bottom. Thank you so much, YouTube. Wow, I'm so far behind, and YouTube just screwed me. Any good ideas for finding new people for my gaming group? Yes, meetup.com. Best way to do it. hands down. Make sure you have a good location to go, and then set a meetup for it. I'm telling you, it's the best way. If you have to do something else or hand in hand with meetup, set up a Facebook group. Have you ever tried Mombasa? I have heard of that game, but no, I have not. What is your favorite Christmas movie? Scrooged with Bill Murray. I've noticed the plain white box during reviews and behind your head now. What's that all about? That is Time Stories, and because it is it says Time Stories and foil stamping, which catches the reflection of light, it's hard to tell that it's anything but a white box. Someone actually said is that the Emperor's New Clothes? What is your what do we get? What is one of the first heavy Euro games you recommend someone trying? Heavy Euro games? Stefan Feld games. I mean, some of his games aren't that heavy. Like Bruges is not terribly heavy, and it's a good one I'd recommend. But then like Trajan, it's a good one. It's a good one. Have you played Game of Thrones LCG 2nd Edition? I have it sitting over in my stack. I have not. I hope it's better than the old one. Can you name best 3 language independent games? That's a tough one. Language independent. I'm sorry, I don't put a lot of thought into that, so I think I'd be ill-equipped to answer that question. I'm thinking of games that just have iconography. So I know there's games like that I like. I mean, I don't care for it, but people like Race for the Galaxy. I think that's mostly iconography. I think you can get by if you have at least a copy of English Rules with Animals Frightening Night without knowing, because the tokens are language independent. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm ill-equipped to answer that question. Are there any war games you've ever wanted to try out? Like I mentioned before, Space Empires 4X, I think, is something I'd like to try. I'm thinking of starting an audio podcast, but more as a reflection of the older games. Do you think the area is getting oversaturated? There are several cracking podcasts out there. I don't know what that means, but no, I don't. Look, there's tons of podcasts, so yeah, maybe podcasting in general is oversaturated for games, but the thing is, it's oversaturated with gaming podcasts that sound exactly the same. Hey, me and my friends want to talk about the games that we played in the last week over and over again, exhaustively, and talk about some news items. That is oversaturated completely and utterly. Having something new and fresh, even if it's about older games, that is not oversaturated, and I think that there's an audience for that, especially if you go for like very overlooked older games. Brian Counter, you should start it with Brian Counter. Reach out to him and see if he wants to be on a podcast on a weekly basis, because he loves talking about older games on the Dice Hour podcast. Which holiday is your favorite? Christmas. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a practicing Christian, and I have no religious intonations towards it. I like it. I like the holiday season. I like seeing all the lights. I like this, like the mood and the tenor. Even down here in Florida, it still shines through, although it would be better up north. So I like it. It is my favorite. I know you did a preview of Norse Saga. Did you back it? I received my Kickstarter copy and thought it was pretty cool. What are your thoughts? I did not back it. I have not received a review copy of it, so I can't judge it. But if I ever do, I will certainly review it and let you know. There have been a lot of people who have not sent me review copies of the games I've previewed, and I think it's for one of 2 reasons. I think it's because either they feel like, oh, well, he did a preview video, and a lot of people, no matter how many times I explain it to them, still think of those as reviews. So they're like, oh, well, why would I bother? He already reviewed my game, which I didn't. And a lot of people are just like, well, I'm not going to push my luck. I already got some promotion out of Nick. I'm not going to send him a game and have him potentially hate it. So, and I made the mistake at least a couple of times of people saying, okay, now that you've done my preview, could you tell me what you really think of the game? And then I was honest about it, and they're like, oh. I'm not saying that applies to Norse Saga, by the way. There's other games like that, and so I don't expect to ever get review copies of those. But I would be happy to review any game that's my preview clients want to send to me in their final version. Hi, Nick, you're wearing shorts. That's demoralizing with the snow falling here in Northern Europe. I would rather be in the snow, though. That's the thing. Hey, Nick, any advice for new designers trying to build their first game? Mistakes to avoid, themes to explore, review bribes to prepare? Don't do that. But do send review copies, full review copies, out to as many reviewers as possible. If it's just your prototype that you want to get promotion for Kickstarter, ask people. There are people that are willing to do reviews for preview games. I don't approve of it, but I don't blame publishers for doing it. I blame the reviewers for doing it. But if you're a publisher, sure, send those prototypes out to as many people as are willing to give it social media attention. And then as far as like the actual how to build it, I'm not a game designer. I don't presume to be. I would say pick a unique theme. Don't do something that's been done to death. Or if you're going to go for a theme that's been done to death, come at it from a completely new and fresh angle. You want to play as many games as possible that have anything to do with your game. Games that have similar mechanisms, games that have similar themes. Just consume as many games as you possibly can that are even tangentially related to the game that you are trying to design, to avoid any pitfalls you see in those games, to avoid duplicating too many mechanisms from them that don't need to be, in order to flesh out your game and make it new and unique. You would be surprised how many people make a game like in a vacuum. They may have played like, I played Settlers of Catan. Well, it's time to go off and create my own trading and negotiating resource management game, without ever having played anything else. I'm not saying you're like that, but you need to have a wide breadth and depth of knowledge about games, and I feel like that, in and of itself, will help you avoid a lot of mistakes. Nick, how was the new Adventure Time game? I haven't played it yet. I will tell you the rulebook is way more complicated than I would have suspected. I don't know if it's just poorly written out, or it's just this game seems way more complicated than I think an Adventure Time game probably should be. We'll see. Maybe it's just the rulebook's bad and it's actually a very simple game. Just played Orleans, went over very well with my wife and 11-year-old daughter. What did you think of it? I had already actually played Orleans, and I just got my deluxe edition in the mail. So I already know that I like the game. I am going to try and play it again within the next couple of days to solidify how much I like it. So yes, I would have said go for it even before my review. Just because I happened to play someone else's game like, I don't know, 6 months ago? Something like that. Long time ago. Thank you very much, Robert. How do you see your channel in the next few years? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'll still be doing the channel. I hope that I will be. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I think it's doing very well. We've doubled our subscribers since the last time this year. I think at least possibly more than doubled, and we could do that again in the next year, I hope. But I'm very happy with the success of it. Any chance you will get a passport and join the Dice Tower crew at the UK Games Expo? Excuse me. Probably not, but I assure you, one day I would love to go over to the. I would just love to go over to the UK in general and visit and explore. But I would really have fun gaming with people in another country as well. Try Laurie Anderson. Okay, I'll put that on my list. You think I'm kidding? I'm always looking for new music to check out. If this is a trick, I will come back and make your life a living nightmare. And just to the question on where your channel would be in a few years, what are your hopes for the channel? I don't have like high ambitions for it. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to grow my audience. I want to make the audience happy. I want to make the channel look better from a technical standpoint. I want to have animations and things like that. But other than that, I just want to keep doing reviews. I want to keep doing top 10 lists. I want to keep doing these live Q&As. These are the things that I enjoy the most. Do you think that after having almost everything from Marvel and DC Dice Masters, except for a few super rares, and not playing in tourneys, is it time to stop buying it, or at least the gravities? Perhaps. I think maybe at a certain point, I think I might be getting to this point too, just buy the characters that you like. You can buy singles, and they're not that expensive if they're not super rares. And a lot of people have a lot of extra dice you can just pick up. Oh god, I lost my place again! I hate YouTube! I'm sorry, my nose is running. It's really annoying and gross. If you don't like country, would you give alt country or progressive acoustic a chance? I don't think so. When you say progressive acoustic, though, do you mean like... I'm not sure what you mean, like bluegrass? Some of that I like. I like the Two Gallants. It's a good band. Okay. You always show a lot of I'm cleaning up your sentence a bit, but you always show a lot of candor with your comments. Why won't you discuss your stronghold thoughts? Because honestly, I think that's a matter of public record at this point, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever the case may be. There's people in the industry who don't like me for various reasons, and once I figured that out, I'm like, well, okay, and I've made that public as well. I don't know. I'm not afraid of like giving my thoughts about things, but at a certain point, I'm not going to beat a dead horse and like keep trying to like egg people on. It is what it is. There's some designers, publishers, media personalities I'm just never going to get along with because I don't think that they're good people, and that's the case there. No need to belabor it. Do you believe Magic the Gathering will ever turn into an LCG game, or do you believe it will have more potential as an LCG? No. It's never going to turn into that. I mean, it's still making money hand over fist. I understand that its percentages went down a bit in the last year, last quarter, or whatever it might be, but still, it's a powerhouse. Are you going to back Arcadia Quest Inferno? I am with an early bird. I don't know if it'll last or not. Have you heard about the expansion for Dead of Winter? I have. I don't know a ton of details about it. I joined the playtesting list. We'll see if I actually get in. Which deck building game do you feel is most tournament ready? Few, if any, banned cards, most fair scoring, no handicaps, etc. Well, Dominion, right? I think that's been, I don't know about banned cards, but I think it's got the most like tried and true system. Other than that, Ascension, I guess. Best worker placement game at this moment? I don't know. I think I would be spoiling something if I told you that, even if I did know off the top of my head, because it would be on my top 100 list, which you should be watching. Do you feel cleaner being clean-shaven? Yeah, I guess so. Will there be more optical variants on your optional variants? Excuse me, that was my mistake, not yours. Yes, I just don't have time. I'm sorry, Lyrics. One day. What kind of ruckus will have to be made to get 1960, The Making of the President, reprinted? I can't believe that it hasn't been. That's on. Everyone always talks about that game. It's got a good theme. It's hard for me to believe that that game hasn't been reprinted. I don't have any opinion about it. I've never played it, but it just seems interesting. Next week, Blood Rage arrives in my area. Now that the smoke is cleared, is this a keeper for you? Yes, I think it's a great game. Really, really great. I highly approve. My opinion has not changed. I even played it again after I did my review and still enjoyed it highly. I stand by my review. Has there been a Dragon Ball Z board game? There has not. And I don't think it'd be very good. They should just, BattleCon should, level 99 games should just get the license to all of these fighting anime and then make characters out of them. That would be the game. They should make a One Punch Man character that just kills everyone as soon as he hits them. And always hits them. About Blood Rage, do you feel that the game sometimes suffers from poor catch-up mechanics, resulting in big point discrepancies? There are definitely big point discrepancies in that game. There's no doubt about it, but I think when you play with very experienced people, those discrepancies sort of go away. It's just that type of game. People who know the cards, people who know what to do where. It's kind of hard to explain, but I have noticed that personally. Yeah, it is something of an issue, and I think I mentioned that. I also mentioned how, and I've heard other people reinforce this idea, if you run out of PowerPoints, or what do they call it, Rage? PowerPoints are what they called it in Chaos and Gold Roll, which is a very similar game. When you run out of your resource, you're done for the round, and that's a very demoralizing thing, and that probably means you're losing as well. Are you psyched about the next Ghost in the Shell? If you mean the movie, the live-action movie, not so much. And I'm kind of out of the loop on the series, unfortunately, but I liked it. When is the next Top 100 video coming out? Tomorrow. Actually, might be today. Might be today. It's either going to be today or then I think it would actually be Monday, most likely. At BGGCon, Bart Brunsheen hosts a Scotch crawl. That'd be pretty awesome. I'm not a Scotch fan, but I like the idea of like liquor and beer crawls. Will you go to Gen Con next year? Maybe. Doubtful. Nick, do you run into conflict with association with the Dice Tower Network and your use of language that is a little blue? Yes. They're not very fond of it. Have you thought about doing a podcast? I have. It was originally going to be a podcast. I just couldn't find a host I was happy with. I wanted a female host to have a different perspective and someone that got along very well with me, and it just didn't happen, so I did videos instead. Do you have any plans on... And thank you, Barry, for your comment. There's a lot of times people say very nice comments. I just don't want to dwell on them too much and like get arrogant and build myself up. But I notice everyone's very nice comments, and I'm very, very thankful for them. Thank you, Barry. Do you have any plans on how to get more patrons on Patreon? Well, I just modified all of my pledge levels, and I'm going to be sending out notices about those new pledge levels to people who have pledged for them, which is very evasive. I don't mean to be, but I just don't want to go into explicit detail, like tons of detail right now. Go ahead and go look at the pledge levels, and you'll see what I mean. Details about each of the pledge levels are going to be going out to those backers tomorrow, at some point tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And it's brought in a few extra people. I don't know really what else I could do at this point, though. What do you do with the games that you don't want in your collection? Well, go to Patreon and find out. Also, can you show us the mountain of games that is left to be reviewed? Sure, I can do that. You know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Keep watching my top 100. You'll see. Do you think there is anything ethically suspect if game reviewers sell the games they receive from companies as review copies? No, I don't, and I do that because the fact of the matter is, there's two ways that this could go about, right? So the game designer or publisher / could send you the game and say, okay, once you're done reviewing it, could you please send it back? Well, the expense to send it back is usually not worth it for them, and there's just no like, and also like. A lot of times I would turn down a game for review if I thought, well, this isn't really going to do anything for my channel, and I have to go through the expense and trouble of sending it back and the time and effort to send it back. I'm just not going to bother. I apologize. So most game reviewers and game designers and publishers just say, okay, we'll send you a copy. It's yours. Whatever you do with it, you do with it. And I think that's the way it should be. And whenever I get a review copy of a game, I never look at that and say, oh boy, howdy, I'm going to get a lot of money for this one. Because first of all, it's a big pain in the butt for me to sell and give away any of my games, right? Giving away whatever, that's fine. And I don't get a lot of money for any of the games I sell anyways. Certainly not whatever the game is worth, because most people will just go to the store, cool stuff, and get it for that. So it's not a money-making enterprise by any means, and it's hard for me to sell things. So it doesn't influence my decision at all, and I don't think it would really influence anyone else's either. And I keep so many games that I get that, especially like games from Asmodee, that just hasn't been an issue. So I don't think it's ethically suspect. I think that's a good thought to have, and you're thinking correctly in that a lot of these things should be questioned. I don't think that that's an issue, But Craig, I totally understand that thought process. If that makes sense, I don't think it's a wrong question to ask. For someone who likes lewd anime games, well, okay. What's your definition of lewd? What would you recommend? Like Barbarossa, Almine, Tentacle Bento, and Karate Fight. I wouldn't recommend any of those necessarily. I backed El Alamein, and I kind of regret it, because it turns out it's just going to be exactly like Barbarossa. But it'll be worth reviewing. I don't recommend any of those. Get Heart of Crown. It's not lewd, though. Mads Mikkelsen was a Bond villain in Casino Royale. I didn't know that. I forgot that, I guess. Is there anything on Kickstarter right now that is worth looking at? Arcadia Quest Inferno, I think, is very good. Maybe Draconis. Could you see Kingdom Death Monster to do a more streamlined and or cheaper version to attract more customers? I don't think so. I think that guy is committed to putting out his passion project, and that's what it's taking the form of. So I think it is what it is. And it will always just have a niche audience. What is your favorite cartoon comic book dog? It's Snoopy. I mean, it is. I mean, I don't like necessarily Peanuts as a whole, but Snoopy is the best. What takes the longest time in creating a game review video? The overview, by far. And I wish I didn't have to do them, but I do. And I make them too long as it is. I really struggle with that because I'm like, I really just don't want to do this at all, so let me just do it very, very quickly. But then I'm like, if I don't make it thorough, people are going to complain and say that I got rules wrong or omitted rules, and people want to know what the game is like, so I make them too long. And that's why you get videos that are like 40 minutes long, and I can't stand it. Which podcast or video reviewer do you feel is pushing the envelope the most in terms of innovation, in terms of critical analysis of the hobby? I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for that because I don't feel like that person exists. I feel like I'm trying to be that person, and I don't want to say myself, but I feel like there's many other reviewers, very popular reviewers, are not as critical as they should be, pull punches. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. And Shut Up and Sit Down has shown a willingness to not pull punches, so maybe them, but I'm not a huge fan of them. I think I'm doing a pretty good job of that, but that shall remain to be seen with time. Do you think Castlevania would make a good theme for a board game? Sure. It would probably have to be like a dungeon crawl, but it'd still be pretty cool. Did you ever play the new version of Ogre? No, I have no interest in it. But it looks like a cool thing for people who love that sort of thing. Have you played Assault on Doomrock? No, I'd be willing to do so, but it doesn't look that appealing to me. Have you played Steampunk Rally? Would you be doing a review on it? I have not played it. I was hoping I'd get a review copy of it because I reviewed their previous game so well, but they seem to have no inclination to send me a review copy, which is on them. I have no interest in seeking it out for myself, so... What do you think of British shows like the IT Crowd? Huh, interesting. I don't know why this is a thing. Maybe you're the same person that asked it before. I never watched it. It seems funny. Hey Nick, do you think Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica would make a good board game? I've never actually watched that show, so I couldn't tell you. But didn't they make a rethemed version of? I'm not kidding about this. They made a rethemed version of Hanabi with that. Look it up online. It's interesting. On Board Game Geek. I think I'm almost caught up, but I'm running out of time too. I can't do this forever. Shoot, I am nowhere near caught up. Hey Nick, when do you think you'll give yourself a holiday? I think you deserve one. Thanks for all the content. Soon. I think you'll expect that I'm not going to be doing too much on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll probably put out something though. Sorry, lyrics. Nick, are you going shopping on Black Friday? And what do you plan to buy? No, but I'll probably pay attention to Amazon sales. Ordering Time Stories soon. And what do I plan to buy? I don't know. Stuff for the channel. Should I go ahead and just buy the expansion with it? No. I think you should try it first. You might not like it. The expansion's not going anywhere. Actually, stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to have a contest today that might resolve that issue for you if you win. Will there be a cooking-themed expansion called Time Stories? T-H-Y-M-E. How did you know? That would be fascinating. I want there to be a mission, like a mission pack for Time Stories that is a cooking show. You open up, you're like, all right, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to like fight monsters? And, is there going to be a murder mystery? What are we going to have to solve? And you go there and like all of a sudden you're in receptacles that are on like the set of Iron Chef. If you had roommates, would they get on your nerves or would you get on theirs? Definitely they would get on my nerves. And I'm sure that and because of that, I would get on theirs. I cannot stand living with people. I just want to be alone. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be bothered. So you would see very quickly I would start to turn very cold and callous and not make conversation, which in turn would make them annoyed by me. So what's the best dressing to use with a point salad? Theme. Sorry, I had to give a serious answer. Neuroshima Hex is a great language independent game. I have heard that. Have you played Descent 2.0 with the cooperative mods? No, I have not. I'm curious about them though. Dixit, best language independent game? That's a great one, actually. You're right. What made you move to Florida? Family circumstances. I was still a minor, and there was no one to take care of me up north, so I had to come down and live with family in Florida. Are you backing Banner Saga? What do you think about that game? No, I am not, because I have no connection to the video game. This game just looks okay, and it's from Mercs Miniatures. Which Kickstarter has had the whiniest commenters or backers? The Ghostbuster one has been pretty bad. I'm not familiar with what's going on there. I know that they were late, but barely. I don't know. But what other ones have had the whiniest commenters and backers? Oh, I think people complained mightily. People are complaining mightily about the collector's edition of Tokaido, which I don't know. I guess I care, but I kind of don't care. I've backed my first Kickstarter at 7th Continent. Any thoughts? I think that you and a lot of other people probably are not going to be wrong. I think it's going to be worth your time. That's all I can say. If you would love to be in the snow, then I'll emphasize, why did you move to Florida? I just answered that question. Oh, I'm sorry. Cracking is an expression meaning really good. I watch all of your preview. Okay, sorry. New Adventure Time game. Look it up. It's called Adventure Time Adventures in the Land of Ooh. Did you get a chance to check out Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes? I'm not sure what that is. Is that a podcast you recommended to me? I'm sorry, I don't remember. Would you start another channel called Card Game Brawl? No, it's hard enough keeping one channel productive. Or Dice Game Drawl. Have you seen on Kickstarter Leonardo, Game of Art and Death? They seem to be tricking people into buying a blinged out Monopoly for $150. No, but now I want to see it. I know the Q&A is going way longer. Let me see here. It definitely seems like that, doesn't it? It does have nice looking bits. Oh man, if that's still on Kickstarter in a couple weeks. Oh yeah, by the way, since Vassal's doing something from Dice Tower or from BGG Con, there will be no board game breakfast or weekend review this week, which is fine. I need a break from that anyways. Who walks your dog when you're at work? No one does. I make sure that my dog stays home maybe like 9 to 9.5 hours by herself, which sucks, but she seems to be okay. I walk her right before and right after work, and sometimes if I know I'm going to be much longer than that, I will have someone come and walk her, and Robin will do it. Ever consider doing some iOS, Android reviews? Love to hear your thoughts about some of those. What are your favorite board game ports to iOS? I don't really have any, and no. Nah, I'm not really interested in doing that. The one I ever did was the Star Realms app, because I was in the beta testing for it. Best solo game ever? I'll say Friday for right now. Why are the Star Wars Imperial Assault mini expansions so expensive? Why don't they do expansions like Blood Rage? I don't know. I don't know why. Well, they're doing it to make money, but I wish they just put out like boxes of miniatures. When do you hope Seafall will be released? Tomorrow. Not today. I'm busy today, but tomorrow would be fine. Looking forward to receive info on Patreon. Yes, I will do that tomorrow. Do you follow any sports? I kind of keep track of football standings. The Browns are terrible. It's the only team I had any kind of emotional attachment to, just because I'm from Ohio, but I don't like the Bengals. I don't really care, and they're terrible. I don't have an emotional attachment to the Patriots at all, but I really hope that they win and that they go for a perfect season for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I feel like they were, looking at all the facts of the case, they were unfairly vilified for this whole Deflategate thing. I think that it was a much ado about nothing. I think that I think Tom Brady in particular was totally screwed on that, and time has bore that out. I think that like everyone in the football league like pounced on it, like yeah, you freaking cheaters, you're disgusting. Who would do that? When all of these people were just rooting for their own teams and were sick of the Patriots winning. So everyone was biased. Everyone just wanted to see a champion taken down, and I hate that. Even though I don't care about the Patriots in particular, I hate that they were made to be this villain when they were just doing very well and people were jealous of them. I really think is the core of the issue. And so I hope that they beat the snot out of everybody. I also hope that because I hate the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins still hold one of their teams from like the 70s or the 80s is the only undefeated team ever from game one all the way up to the Super Bowl. And they still hang that on their hat, even though the Dolphins are a terrible team and a terrible organization. And they still hang their hat on that win. And I just want the Patriots to go undefeated and shut them up forever. I really do. Like all the remaining teammates from that that season, like get together and drink champagne whenever the last undefeated team is taken down. I'm like, just grow up, just get a life. I don't know why I got so passionate about that. Ever looked at Tabletopia? No, but only because I don't care about playing games online. Would you rather drink a cup of your... Oh. Almost got me into it. Critical analysis. Oh, John gets games. He's quick and to the point. Okay. Best micro game ever. Love Letter. Any experience with D&D Attack Wing? Yes, I actually liked it quite a bit. I didn't keep it because I just didn't want to get into the collecting thing. But I thought it was very good. Same guy from earlier. You can watch my review, by the way. How would I go about getting review copies? I feel like that would help kickstart me getting videos up of not yet released games. Well, be prepared to have some polite but firm no's from a lot of the larger publishers. So I wouldn't even ask them yet and potentially not burn that bridge necessarily, but overuse that bridge. I would say start off with, smaller publishers, contact them, reach out to them. But I would also say just start with what you have. Start with the content that you have and keep putting videos out until you build up at least some sort of audience. Then start asking people. I know that seems annoying, but I also think that if you're reviewing really new games, it's almost the same anyways. Broken token or a new game? I guess broken token being like inserts and things. Get a new game, man. I don't understand the obsession with inserts recently. I'm not saying you're wrong for wanting inserts, but I just think, I don't know, I don't get the fad. Do you see any merit in reviewing earlier and later editions of the same game to compare and contrast? Sure, if it happens that way. Like, I'm not going to go back and review second edition and first edition of Runebound, but if I had, I think that would have been an interesting comparison. Hey Nick, did you see the last segment on last Sunday's Board Game Breakfast with that guy having a fit about the whaling board game? Did you also feel it was way too inappropriate? Inappropriate is what you meant to say. That's actually a guy who's a fan of the channel. He had actually asked me for advice about that ahead of time, and without going into details about it. And I said, well, you should do what you want to do and what you think is opinionated. And obviously, it did not go over very well with quite a lot of people. I will stay neutral on that one because I don't want to offend anybody. But he has a right to say what he wants to say. I always like when things are provocative, whether you agree with it or not. And yes, Lyrics, thank you. I thankfully noticed the comment almost very quickly after it was posted, and I deleted it and blocked that person as well. All right, we will end it with this last question. Where are your Aza Chen's games? I've not seen Kaiju or Catbox since you have the Calyx shelves. That's just because they don't really go anywhere now, and I think I'm probably going to be getting rid of those games too, just because I don't play them ever. Although they were great shelf pieces, I will admit. But okay. That's it, folks. That is it for today. I have a lot of stuff to do. Hopefully, I'll be doing some gaming in today, but either way, I'm going to be filming things. I'm going to be playing something solo if I have to. I'm going to be cleaning. I'm going to be doing so many things. Just look forward to it. There's a lot of cool stuff coming on the channel. A friend of mine is actually picking up a lot of games for me at the Tokyo Game Market tomorrow. Someone mentioned Japan, and it reminded me of that. I'm very excited to get those. It might be like a week or so before I actually get them, but really, really cool games from Manifest Destiny, the guy that did Ars Alchemia and some other games. But anyways, I'm very excited about them, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming up soon. So thank you so much for watching. No matter how cool my reviews are and my top 10 list and the top 100 and all that stuff, this is still the program that I like the most. I love talking to all of you. Thank you so much. We'll do it again next week. Holiday be damned. Take care.